Hello there and welcome once again to The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Meyers. We're here every week, meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues. And today we're going to discuss and learn more about a company that's as much a part of Oklahoma as just about any company out there.
Yeah, Dolese Company is the one we're going to be talking about, and they have used their product to build lots of foundations, and in the process they have been a foundation pillar in Oklahoma City itself.
Yeah.
We want to talk to Kermit Frank about that.
Okay, it's all coming up today on The Verdict. We'll be right back with that show.
Right now, 6 feet can feel like a long ways away. But from 6 feet, we can still smile at each other. From our doorways and our stairways, from opposite sides of the street and opposite sides of the country. Through fear and frustrations, we can remind each other that we are still here for each other. Because we can still smile at each other. And we're not going anywhere.
Military service ran in my blood, starting from my father, which joined the Navy, on the Chickasaw side, my uncle, which served in the United States Army. I'm Benjamin Espinosa, Chief Petty Officer, United States Navy, and I'm Chickasaw. I went to the Secretary of Defense's staff at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., which ultimately led to becoming a combat support technician for Naval Special Warfare, specifically SEAL Team 10. I think to be proud and to love your tribe, to love being Chickasaw, you also have to love being American. You also have to love everything that America stands for. Equality, perseverance, professionalism, and power. I want my family to know that their father is a good person, but also feels that he has an obligation to the country and to love this nation. Anything worth having is worth dying for. The military and the country owes me nothing. I owe it everything.
See more stories about the Chickasaw people at profilesofanation.com.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Meyers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
As we indicated in the open, Kermit Frank from Dolese is here with us today to talk about some things relating to Dolese, a real pillar of the community here in Oklahoma City and in the state for that matter. Kermit is a native Ohioan. He, by a series of circumstances, ended up in Oklahoma City and has been with Dolese 39 years. He's a graduate of Oklahoma State University, and he is Vice President of Community Relations and Communications for Dolese. Kermit, really glad to have you.
Fantastic to be here. I appreciate you allowing me to come on.
You know, a lot of us are generally aware that Dolese's been around a long, long time, long as any of us can remember. When did Dolese start, and how did all that begin way back when?
Well, Mick, in 1902, the company is 121 years old. It started in Chicago, Illinois. The founders, the four brothers, pitched in $6,250 for the capital to start the company. And the primary function of the business was to go across the country crushing ballast for the expansion of the railroads. 1868 is the Transcontinental Railroad, and now the railroads were expanding at the turn of the century in 1902, and they were going everywhere. And so they crushed stone in Iowa and Kansas and New Mexico, and they ended up in Oklahoma in about 1906. And so we've been here since before statehood. In the quarry where they started, our Richard Spur quarry down by Lawton, we actually still operate today.
Wow.
And then we were at Big Canyon, and one thing led to another. And then organizationally, the company moved down here, and we've officially been an Oklahoma concern since the 40s.
So you transitioned away from railroad work to road driving at some point in the 20s and 30s when all of that construction started taking place?
Right, and so just like the railroads, I mean, there were dirt roads in Oklahoma when you go back that far, and so all the state highways, the federal highway system that started in the 50s, we were there with the foundational materials to build those roads from the very beginning.
Tell us a little bit about the reach of the company statewide. How far can you go to do a job in Oklahoma?
Well, just kind of going back a little bit, we've actually at times had operations in Wichita, Kansas, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana, but right now we're primarily totally in Oklahoma. So it kind of depends on what product you're talking about. So an aggregate facility, a quarry, may have a reach of 100 miles. We actually rail some materials farther than that. So it is a regional business because the cost of transportation is expensive. And so you can't go too far. A ready-mix plant, well, concrete is a perishable product. So you can't really, if the concrete has to go 30, 40 minutes an hour, you're too far because it's spent too much time in the drum and it'll start setting up. So you have to just sometimes have to go where the business is. Our quarries, you don't put quarries where a market is, you put quarries where geology is. So God has decided where the good rock and sand is. And so we've developed quarries, over 100 or more years in Oklahoma, where the good deposits are that make quality construction aggregates, and we still search and look for rock and sand deposits all day, every day to this time. The ready-mix side of the business really kind of blossomed in the 30s. So that's concrete trucks bringing concrete to jobs. Before that, it was all mixed on site. And so a ready-mix plant is kind of, we've covered the state with ready-mix. All of our quarries are kind of south and a little bit west. We don't have any rock quarries or sand plants in the northeast part of the state, but we have ready-mix up there. So Tulsa, Elk City, McAllister, Ardmore, and kind of all points in between. We have probably 45 ready-mix plants all across the state.
So you have broad coverage.
Broad coverage, and like you said, if there's a job out in the middle of nowhere, we can take a plant to it. And so if there's really no place we can't go.
And really there's no project too large because you have been involved in some of the largest construction projects in the state.
We really have. And I mean, the Devon Tower is kind of the flagship.
I remember that day.
And we were very proud that we had the opportunity to work with Flint Co. and Devon, and everybody had the confidence in the local producer to do that. We started research and development on that project a year or more before we even submitted a bid, just to make sure we could cover the high strengths and things like that. But to my knowledge, the largest single concrete placement in one day was the Devon Tower base.
Yeah.
It was 6,300 yards in about 16 hours.
How many different trucks were involved in that?
A lot, Mick, I've forgotten. 30-ish, 35 or 40 from 3 or 4 different concrete plants, because we had a plant just sitting by just in case something happened. So it got cycled in at one point in time.
And explain the level of urgency and why it has to just be continuous and you can't work over a 3-week period and do this.
So I'm just going to do my basic concrete 101. It's a 30 seconds. There are 4 things in concrete. It's rock, sand, cement, and water. Once water and cement, you say it's a cement sidewalk. It's not. It's a concrete sidewalk. Cement is like the flour in a cake of concrete. And so once water and cement go together, they start reacting. It's a process called hydration. And so that happens in a timely fashion. So it's a perishable product. And so you just have to do it continuously. So you have this this is kind of exactly what it looked like, giant base that you're filling with concrete. You just got to keep it coming, because once you stop and the concrete starts hardening, you're done. And so it had to be continuous flow.
And you're probably a pretty good indicator of the local economy and the construction business in general. What do you see here for the next year or 2 or 3 as projects start to line up and knock on your door?
I don't know that my vision goes out 2 or 3 years, but I mean, we've all been kind of worried about a recession and things like that. Interest rates have kind of slowed home building, but there's still a demand. So even our biggest home builders are still building homes, which is all a good sign of maybe soft recovery or whatever you want to call that. It's good. It's good with turnpikes, public work is still very strong. The IJA program and things like that are good, so ODOT and others have work. Gosh, they're building distribution centers everywhere you look, 100,000 square foot buildings where Amazon and others are. I think Oklahoma City, and I know you've preached it as mayor, that we're the crossroads of the country with the interstate highway system, I-40, I-35, I-44. You can go anywhere from Oklahoma City, and I think the fruits of that are really starting to pay off.
Let's kind of switch the focus now from the business of the company to the company's commitment to Oklahoma City and to the citizens of Oklahoma. For instance, I'm thinking about the donation of Dolese stock, non-voting stock, to 3 universities. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. And so Roger Dolese, who is our owner, it's sole proprietorship until his passing in 2002, very much was community-oriented, very environmentally oriented and things of that nature. So I can remember early in my career where we would do something as far as a donation, and he would kind of adamantly tell us, we don't need or want any recognition for this. So we went a very long time in our history doing all kinds of good deeds that we never really got any credit for. But anyway, that being said, in 2002, getting in the late 2000, the beginning of the 2000s, he could kind of see that, at some point in time, he's not going to be with us anymore. And so he started developing a plan for the transition of the company, because it'd be very likely that the company would have had to have been sold because of the value of the company and death and estate taxes. And so he worked this out with lawyers and accountants and everything, and finally got it approved that the only way to keep the company is to give it away. And so if you have to give it away, what do you do with it? Who do you give it to? What's the best benefit? And Mr. Dolese was an engineer, and so he thought that the world needed more engineers. Mm-hmm. And so the foundations of Oklahoma State, OU, and Kansas State were the chosen path for that. And their engineering foundation set up to kind of receive this money, and the company was worth about $210 million, so it was $70 million each. They each got an equal share. Now, the further part of that story is it's all part of the perpetuation plan for the company that someday, maybe way in the future, it could be employee-owned. And so the way the universities benefit from this is we buy back that stock. We buy back some stock from each university every year. And we have every year for the 12 or 13 years that this has been in existence. Started out as $500,000. The most recent it's been over $1 million for several years in a row now. Each of those universities have $1 million that comes in more or less every year to help build the programs to establish scholarships or mentorships or tutoring or other different things that help that pipeline of engineers get them, keep them, and graduate them. And it's been extremely successful.
Let me jump in and get us to a break. Kermit Frank with Dolese, he's the Vice President of Community Relations. He'll be rejoining us when we get on the other side of this commercial.
At Whitten Burridge, we're litigators. That's all we do. All of our clients, some sort of wrong has occurred to them. We try to right that wrong. Corporate America, they have all the power. It's sort of like going against an army. I like helping the underdog. That's what gets me up out of bed every day.
Our success rate is phenomenal, but that's not all they get. We care about people.
I'm very proud of what we've been able to do for our clients, and I'm looking forward to what we're going to do in the future. There's still a lot of wrongs that need to be righted.
OU Law has a history and heritage that are unparalleled. At the University of Oklahoma College of Law, we empower our students to pursue the career of their dreams. We have the highest U.S. News ranking ever achieved by an Oklahoma law school. We are the first law school in the country to launch a college-wide digital initiative. And this year, our competition teams rank #2 in the nation. OU Law, generations of excellence, limitless possibilities.
One of the best kept secrets about the post 9/11 GI Bill benefit is that it can be used at a trade school or a technical school, and it doesn't have to be used at a university or college. These are benefits that the veterans have earned through their service, and they should take advantage of it.
Veterans really need to understand that there are many resources offered by the Oklahoma Department of Veteran Affairs. They are there to help you find the right school for you, the school that will help you and your family make great steps into your future.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. We're visiting with Kermit Frank of Dolese. Kent, where do you want to go next?
Well, I want to expand a little bit on what we were talking about at the break, and that is the company's plan to donate stock to 3 universities, a non-voting stock to 3 universities, and then how that results in funds for the university and what is the expectation of the utilization of those funds.
Yeah, so each of the universities had kind of a unique model, but they're still very parallel to each other. The mission, again, was just graduate more engineers. We weren't really hands-on with that, but we felt really good about scholarships and things of that nature. No need to put names on buildings and things like that, and so they've seemed to have taken that to heart. So universities, nonprofits, they are masters of leveraging dollars. Yeah. And so they've taken our dollars and they've leveraged them for matching donations and things like that, which we love. But they've just kind of picked areas to improve on, it seems like every year that they do it. So scholarships, but then, okay, now you need mentors. Well, now to mentor, you can pay an older grad student or a senior level student to mentor and tutor. And so it's just, it kind of has a great effect, kind of cumulative effect in that. And these days they're going for even younger, so even into the high schools. They all kind of do a variation of a bridge program where they bring in seniors in high school that may be a little bit behind in their math, and they do an intensive 4-week study program in math and other STEM criteria, and so those are just fantastic cohorts then that these groups are, and their path through the university is actually enhanced.
I know we're repeating it, but the 3 universities are Oklahoma State University,
OU,
your alma mater,
yes,
OU, and Kansas State.
Kansas State.
And how is Kansas State picked? Do you know what attribute?
Other than during that period of time, we had a vice president of the company that was from Kansas State. Again, they're in our region. Yeah. You can say, and so, and they had he was a Kansas State graduate, and so there were connections. I mean, I don't know anything other than that.
Okay.
So this really is part of a just creating a workforce for tomorrow. It's sort of a pipeline. I didn't know you were down in that those dollars got into the high school level and really started trying to encourage young people to take the STEM skills that we know are so needed going forward.
Yeah, it's been the evolution, but and that is kind of over 10 or 12 years. They've told us what they're doing, and that is an important part of their process now. And so,
how important is technology in your business in general? I mean, we think of concrete, we think of a lot of really big guys lifting stuff, and a lot of civil engineering and concrete work. But I got to think there's a huge technology aspect to the work that Dolese is doing.
Absolutely. I mean, so machines these days, your toaster can talk to your refrigerator and all this stuff. But but all of our process equipment have sensors and things of that nature. And so now you can turn on a plant or turn off a plant or controls or whatever on an iPad. And so technology is huge. And so we've evolved in technology at some plants with essentially the same workforce. So you have to train up your workforce. And so, workforce is the day, but technologies, we also have a very significant IT component, because all of that technology, all of that automation, all of that data has to be put into a useful format so that we can learn from it and improve our processes from it. So technology is huge.
The company also sponsors a an event called Rock the Block. What is that?
So it started, I guess it's 6 years ago, but this will be the fifth version. We had a COVID break, but it is a industry, so a construction industry touch-a-truck. Yeah. And so a touch-a-truck. So we've got big green concrete trucks that drive around, and they're very fun. And so we've been going to touch-a-trucks at schools or here, there, wherever for years and years and years. And so when I got brought into my current role with community relations, I was going out with the trucks, and kind of you'd see the same group of folks with loaders with CAT or something like that, Kirby Smith. And I said, we need to do one of these for ourselves. And so it's the construction industry coming together to bring our big fun equipment, which kids of all ages love, and just open the doors, let them sit in the seat, let them honk the horns, except from 9 to 10 when it's a quiet hour where we respect those that are more sensitive to noise. And it's kind of the equipment that they would see going through a road job where we're building roads and highways. It's all going to be out there, from rollers to loaders to our trucks, and instead of like maybe grumbling about being in a line in a construction zone, it's our way to present an opportunity for kids' first engagement with our industry to be a good one. And everything's workforce, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if kids have a good impression of our equipment and the things that we do, what little they might learn when they're this young age, I don't think it can be anything but a positive.
How many people show up at one of these events?
Golly, I don't have a turnstile, but I'm going to try to do a better job of catching that information this year. But in the peak moment, there's probably 1,000 people there at any given time. And so 1,000 people, though, it's like maybe 200 adult human beings, and the rest are kids. I mean, that's the demographic of the families that show up.
And that's coming up on September 23rd. If a viewer wanted to come and perhaps bring their kids, do they need to sign up, or do they just need to show up?
We're at 8300 North Oklahoma in the half, just north of Wilshire on the access road to the Broadway extension. The half, our development has embraced it. Flick's Brew House, Chicken and Pickle. So we've got parking behind our building. The Flick's Brew House parking lot is significant, and so there's capacity for everybody.
Got about a minute left. What do you want people to know about Dolese before we leave?
Just really, in 121 years, the efforts we've gone to provide the foundational materials. It's kind of maybe an underappreciated thing that we do, and we've been pretty happy to live below the radar, but maybe rock the block and some of these things that we've told our story a little bit better with the universities is really the true aspirations we have to live out our mission of supporting our communities through our products, action, and support.
All right. Well, Kermit, please take back our appreciation to your staff over at Dolese for all they've done, not just 120 years ago, but today too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks very much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. Kermit Frank with Dolese. We'll be right back with the final word after this.
This is the epidemic of my generation. This is my HIV. This is my Black Plague.
In the midst of one of our state's largest crises,
Oklahomans are dying from this preventable and treatable disease on a daily basis.
We believe there's hope.
That little pill will cause destruction through your whole life.
Watch the entire award-winning 9-part docuseries Killing Pain, made available by Fighting Addiction Through Education at killingpain.com.
It used to be okay in teachers' lounges. It used to be okay in maternity wards. It was okay in sporting arenas, college campuses, and office spaces. But now that we understand the deadly dangers of secondhand smoke, that's not okay anymore. So why is it okay that thousands of employees are exposed to it every day at work? Bottom line, it's not okay. Let's protect hardworking Oklahomans. Join the fight at stopswithme.com.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
I think for us, once we got started and we began to see the tremendous need just within our state, it really was just a calling for us. The blessings far outweigh any obstacles that we've faced.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
We're back for a final word. We've been discussing Dolese and its 120 plus years of commitment to Oklahoma.
Yes, Dolese is the leader in many ways as what the city could hope for with a business that generates a lot of business for the city and the state and gives back.
Yeah.
Gives back in ways that few others have.
A commitment to education.
Yes.
You know, and it's good business, first of all, on their behalf, because they
Sure.
need a workforce just like everybody else. But it really does show that they're community oriented. We have a couple of websites that we'll pass along to you. First of all, if I can find it here, it's right here in front of me, I know. Dolese.com is how you can get more information on Kermit and his people over at Dolese. Dolese.com. And then we have a website. It's theverdict.tv. You can log on and tell us about a guest you'd like to see or a subject you'd like to see discussed sometime in the future. That's going to do it, though, for this week's show. For Kent, I'm Mick. We'll see you next week with another episode of The Verdict.